You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome, everyone, to another adventure into reality, live on Studio A at Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I am joined by my intrepid, my infamous co-host, Kathy Ma. Welcome once again, Kathy. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. It's great to be here yet again. I love these shows. They're so much fun. I just am so excited to think about what kind of questions we're going to get today.
Oh, yes. So everyone that's out there, we will be taking calls after the first half hour. So after the 2:30 Eastern Coast time or 11:30 Pacific time. I've got that East Coast, West Coast time thing mixed up. Anyways, we will be taking calls today. This is generally going to be a call-in show, but one of the main topics that Kathy and I cover is healing. But before we talk about that, there's a lot of things going on in our world right now that distract us, that take away or cause fear in our lives. And one of the things that's going on now is the Paris attack that's going on. It's very similar to the 9/11 scenario that happened here in the United States and a whole Europe in fear. And one of the things that Kathy and I like to do is provide perspectives from different areas and different cultures of the world. And one of the things that we do is we use common healing techniques as that way of getting people to set aside fear, envy, jealousy, resentment, and shame, blame, and guilt, so we can ultimately come together to create 1 billion healers in this world. That is what this show is about, just motivate people so that we can train 1 billion healers. Is that a big goal? Well, if we don't think big, we don't make big. We have to think at this time at the scale in which our opposition, the propaganda, is working at. It is affecting millions and millions of people with but a handful of words that has radicalized or brought into fear. So, Kathy, I know you've been through some unique times in China where fear was very rampant. What were the techniques you used to deal with fear in the politics?
I think probably the biggest one was to do self-grounding. I mean, that is really so important because there's so much chaos and there's so many people's stress and fear and anger and disillusionment that's just being bombarded all around you. That it's very difficult not to take that on board yourself. So just to practice that every morning, deep grounding, and then when you're going out, just to take those few moments, especially when you're walking on the busy streets of the city, is to think, wait, I'm feeling panicked not because of my own feelings, but because I'm taking on board everyone else's. So even if you have to take a moment to just stand away from the sidewalk against a building, just to close your eyes for a few seconds, just to reground yourself and put yourself in this protective bubble, is completely worth it, so that panic doesn't sort of invade your space.
Exactly. So that panic doesn't invade your space, because that panic is being broadcast from hundreds and thousands of people who have fallen into the propaganda program of fear.
Sorry, go on.
One of the things we try to teach here is to get out of the program and to recognize it when it's going on and use the healing techniques that we talk about so that you aren't caught in the trap of fear.
Yes. I mean, that's very important. Also, being aware that you're in a vulnerable state, I think, is very important.
Yeah.
Because whether you know someone in that area or it's happening to you or around you, it's very difficult sometimes to acknowledge that you are being affected because, some people are very tough and very hardy and they think they don't know anyone there, it's got nothing to do with them, so therefore they're fine. Yet they don't realize that there's all this little subliminal stuff coming in that's just getting under that surface, and it's like an itch.
Exactly, those tiny little subliminal things, like an itch that after a while you cannot deny, but you must scratch and scratch until the scab is bloody.
Yeah, so much so. And it's a skill to be able to do that, to learn how to differentiate what is yours and what is someone else's, especially when it's en masse like that. I remember when they had the handover for Hong Kong, the British were handing it back to China. There was such a intense energy around everyone. And in Hong Kong overall, in fact, most people were quite calm because you pretty much knew what was going to happen. You've lived there all these years, so it was not a big drama. But then they had all this televised stuff predicting troops coming in, chaos, people up in arms, and it was hard to not be affected by it, even though you knew that wasn't going to happen. Just to have it all around you and bombard you makes you have those little nigglings of doubt, and to be able to reground yourself and think, no, that's not the reality. It's quite difficult.
So the handoff was in 1999, correct?
Well, in Hong Kong was 97, and
97?
Macau was 99. Yes.
So there was a 3-year period of intense propaganda, pretty much to say. Intense.
Oh, yeah.
But on both ends, the positive and the negative scale, because no one really got what the world was gonna look like 15 years later. Hong Kong's the center of just about everything.
Oh, definitely. And I think it's a very good case to use as other people's perspective and their perception of what's going to happen, how it can affect a whole country when that country didn't have that fear or that perspective in the first place. But, with the mass media these days, you can't, turn a blind eye to it. Every channel you turn on, that was an overseas channel, was like predicting doom and gloom.
Exactly. And I remember the propaganda here saying that the China was going to walk in with troops and murder everyone. It was going to be another Tiananmen Square in Hong Kong, that people were going to, leave Hong Kong en masse.
Yeah. It was insane.
Yes.
When you think it, even when you looked at it logically, that would have made no sense. Why would they do that if they're taking it back?
And it's an economic zone that's going to protect the whole country, because it is that China taking over Hong Kong that allowed 10% growth for nearly a decade.
Mm-hmm.
They built roads and bridges in cities that never had roads and bridges for 1,500 years.
Yeah. And they love making money.
Yeah, just like us.
Why would they shut that down? Exactly. Mm-hmm. But I guess that's just fear, though. Some people were fearful about what they thought might happen and made all these crazy predictions. But the panic that it instilled in so many people was quite amazing. And, Hong Kong as a whole sort of nation was pretty strong within itself to not be swayed by it that much, because had you been on the outside looking in, you would have been expecting all sorts of violence.
Right, but none of that really occurred.
No, none of it occurred.
None of that occurred. It was very peaceful convert over, other than a few, Chinese people on the side of the street going, hey, it was a handful of minor things.
Yeah. So a lot of it, things do happen, but then media also, and different people's opinion, take some things onto a whole new level.
Right.
So whatever it is, you still have to think about yourself, your own groundedness. And if you're in a situation where you have a family and they're all freaking out, it's how do you make them calm and how do you get them grounded if they do not like to, self-practice things like this. I mean, then you would go to things like you burning sage in the house, in your environment, anything that is grounding, basically, that is acceptable to other people, because not everyone likes the smell of sage.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure here in America, there are many rituals that people do on a family basis that, not everyone is into alternative things, but they do things that the rest of the family may not realize is helping them ground, but they employ those techniques anyway.
So I would like to present a little bit of a grounding technique that people can use today in this wake of mass propaganda that's going to be infecting our airways for the next 48, 50 days, at least in the news cycle. So I want you to find a birthday candle. Those little tiny candles that they had for birthdays. You can buy a pack of 24 for like $2. Mm-hmm. And every other day I want you to light a candle and to say, I'm not falling into propaganda. I'm allowing myself to disconnect from the distractions of the propaganda. I'm allowing myself to release the programs that have been projected at me over and over again since the dawn of me watching mass media. I take this time with this fire burns to allow myself to once again reconnect to the earth and all of those signature frequencies of truth and perpetuity, so there is no more lies from our people. I know that this propaganda now is in a state and form of flux and change and trying to keep the system of domination and control empowered. So I, at this ever-present moment, remove my energy in totality from a system that no longer cares for its people.
Wow, that's good. And so simple to do.
So simple to do. Birthday candle and some words. Self-empowerment, self-empowerment, self-empowerment.
That's an excellent technique to use. Very, very good.
Okay. And for those of you that are doing grid work out there, this is a chance for you to look at the energies of Paris, the energies of Syria, and look at the lines of connection between the two, and then begin to sever those connections. You'll notice if you look for the grids and the nexus points that connect the Parisian energy to the Syrian energy, there's all sorts of things that can be done that can interrupt the exchange of fear energy between these sacred geometry systems. This is where the rebels out there that know how energy work can be the rebels and never get detected by simply removing your energy from a system or by changing the direction of the energy so it goes to another city, so there can no longer be this flawless exchange of energy between the system.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's very empowering, isn't it?
Yes, that's the whole point, to be empowered, because the media is attempting to disempower us, take away that hope for change and freedom, to take away that desire to create a better world. It wants fear. It wants jealousy. It wants instant gratification. It doesn't want a free people with free minds, with an unlimited point of view.
Well, it'd be no fun if you can't control people, is it?
Exactly. For them.
Yeah.
Exactly. They want safe people. Thank you, Steve. Locked in a safe, exactly. With the key thrown away, and all you got to do is do what? Is go from one prison cell to another, and that's what your passport's for.
Well, golly gee, good thing ISIS burned them.
What was that, Steve?
I said, well, golly gee, it's a good thing ISIS burned them.
Exactly.
Oh, but wait a minute.
And then we have all of these damn terrorists that are leaving their passports at the scene of the crime. I guess the units making up these attacks in America didn't pass that over to the French ones. Hey, they're catching on to you leaving your passports.
Yeah, because I know that if I want to compromise my buddies in my terrorist cell, I better leave my calling card, because I'm the Joker.
Exactly. There hasn't been one terrorist attack, including the 9/11 attacks, where they found their passports, spread amongst all the rubble of the building.
Right. Maybe we should be asking the whoever makes the passports about that. Why is that?
They refine said passports.
Yes. I don't know. I'm just looking for excuses to blame Hillary Clinton. Anyway.
Yeah. It does seem strange. It's not really the first thing you grab to put in your pocket when you leave the house, is it?
Exactly, especially if you're strapping an AK-47 and a bomb vest on. Yeah. I need my passport.
Yeah, it's not like he was gonna be passing through customs to to execute his grand plan of bringing a gun into the club and shooting up some people.
Exactly. He just needed his regular ID.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
We poke fun at this because it's such a serious nature. And if we don't poke fun at it, we can't take its power away, because I call this the phantasmal beast. It's all being empowered by our fear. And when generate more fear, this beast gets more powerful, and it just jumps through the media networks until it creates people that are just totally unempowered because this phantasmal beast has all your power. It's like that Harry Potter scene where the big spider is there, and Harry's gotta do that laughing spell so they can laugh at it, and it takes his fear away.
It's not just the fear, though. It's also the it's also the pride. It's the matter of trying to shame people into saying, how can you laugh at their pain, which isn't really what we're doing, but that's the way it feels because you're joking in a moment of pain about some legitimate suffering that you didn't address as seriously enough first. Exactly. Meaning they're trying to dictate like something that they don't even want you to do in the first place.
So, Kathy, I got a question for you. So this Paris attacks, you were watching it on the CNN and the news stuff. What were your impressions from what you saw, from what the news was presenting? Do you give this a high level of concern? What is your perspective there?
Well, when I was watching it on the telly, I was horrified. As any incident like that or incidents, I mean, it was just horrific, and it was. I can remember watching the 9/11 on telly when I was in Hong Kong, and it had the same surreal thing. You're like, am I watching a movie? Like, I don't understand. And you're sort of thinking, this can't be real, but your mind is saying it is real. And that was the disbelief, I guess, at what was going on. And then to comprehend how vast the tragedy was, because initially on the telly you could only just see outside and you could see police cars, and they didn't really have a lot of details. But even without all the details, there's something core in you knew that this is bad. Like you just could feel it coming off the people. You just knew this is going to be tragic, it's going to be bad. Hopefully they can end this soon, because this could escalate to such a horrific, even more horrific, situation. And my impressions of, the overall thing was, it's just so unbelievable to me still that a group of people can still be so highly organized and inflict this kind of damage on others and think this is okay in some way for whatever message it is that they want to put out.
Right. And for whatever message or control, or it doesn't matter. The individual still did it. Yeah.
And they, obviously there's a lot of thought and planning had gone into it. And I don't know what their belief system is, but what do these people think is going to happen to them in the end? I mean, you have to pay the piper somewhere. I mean, there must be some really, low-level depths of hell they're in now because, anyway. So I guess the point is that they completely can annihilate other people, have no qualms about it, and still go ahead and believe that they are in the right for whatever reason it is. That seems to me to be so insane in this day and age, when you're growing up with so much knowledge and so many cultures, so many countries. How can you still harbor these feelings? I guess it's the disillusionment of people still being so like that. Like, in some ways, how far has society come?
Right. How far has society come, and how far has society held itself back by allowing radicals to have control of the media and to create a system of more generation of evilness.
And
the same thing with the dealing with corruption in the government. It's the same thing. Is it economic terrorism? Absolutely, it is.
And it's also quite what is the word? Not highlighted, but people like that, they always pick on the weak. That they're just sneaky, and they go and pick on weak people who cannot defend themselves. I mean, how is it if they're, whatever cause they're fighting for, what rationale thinks that, picking on the weak and defenseless is okay? I just can't get over it.
Unfortunately, radicalized personalities do. And that's been their motto for centuries upon centuries upon centuries of warfare. Long before the creation of our modern world, there have been people that have been radicalized in every religion thought possible, from the indigenous tribes to the highest scientific orders. Why? Because people at times put power into the commander of a group, the head of a faction. And after a while, these factions become dynasties, something you know all too well about in Hong Kong. How families that have dynasties, you could make money, you could make $1 billion a year and still never come close to what the dynasties make or have made.
Yes, and the power that they hold.
Right. The power they hold, the projection of power they hold.
Yeah, I mean, those things, unfortunately, probably don't change. And in our lifetime here, we probably won't see the change.
But we are seeing the dynasties go through reformations, where they are taking concepts from other places and applying it to their dynastic expression. Like, when Nixon came to China in the 70s and made the trade deal, et cetera, it opened up a scenario of a lot of money coming into the Chinese area for direct investment, which changed a whole culture of people, for the good and for the bad.
Well, that's true. I mean, it takes those big giant leaps to really get people motivated to make any change, isn't it?
Exactly. It takes those big giant leaps by the dynasties to allow it to happen and to create obstructionism.
Yeah.
Obstructionism is one of those things that we have to deal with, because we live in a world that's been brought up on propaganda-based debates. So obstructionism is a debate style. You don't even have to know anything about the topic, and you can still be an obstructionist.
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah,
exactly. Simply not allow the topic to be talked about is obstructionism. And we live in a world where we must let this information flow free. And yes, it may do some form of temporal removal of power from people, but it will ultimately bring power back to them when they see the bigger truth.
Yeah.
The bigger truth example, Hong Kong, 17 years later, is now, again, the economic capital of the world.
Good old Hong Kong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It did that in a confluence of dozens of dynasties from the European era that had taken over Hong Kong for nearly 100 years, 150 years. And mixed their cultures, their species, their religions, their laws, etc., made a massive booming trade import-export zone. And then when the British had to leave, the Chinese took it over and said, all right, we're going to keep it the way it is, but at the same time, we're going to make it better.
Yeah. Make their own little touches here and there. Yeah.
With the Chinese stamp of approval on it.
I like the way you put that.
Exactly, because for too long, the radical culture that ran Hong Kong, which was the corrupt European factions, you had a corrupt police, and everybody got bought off. But, that was in every society.
Yeah, I'd say probably there is no country in the world never had those problems. I mean, that was the nature of before all the self-policing and the acceptability and people starting to discover what it really meant. And, yeah.
Exactly.
Times surely have changed.
We want to remind everyone before we go on our break that Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com is a listener-supported station. So please stop on by that site support button and drop a couple dollars in to support the station so shows like these can keep going on for free. You can also join the archive club that the station has here for $5 a month and then get access to all the 72 hosts that are here broadcasting and putting up shows. Alrighty, that is our music. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
And welcome back, everyone, to our second segment of the show. We will be taking calls. So for those of you that are out of the country, you can use Skype, Freedom Screens, Freedom Screen as one word. You can get in through Skype, or you can call 347-688-2902. So get your fingers and dialing ready, and our intrepid producer, Steve, will start lining up the calls. So, Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
I'd like to take this chance to say thank you to everyone for such good support. I mean, it's been really awesome to have so many inquiries, people call in, emails. It really is, what is the word, heartwarming to have such a great support. And for those of you who are interested in a private session and that want to go deeper with your questions with either Andrew or myself, do go ahead and call the office now at area code 1 for America, then 360-894-0692, and they'll be happy to answer any questions you have. So again, the number for the one-on-one sessions with Andrew and myself is 1 for America, then 360-894-0692.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Excuse me a second. So we've been joined by our first caller, 908, your name and where you're calling from?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. How you doing, New Jersey?
You would think with all, I have 6 Virgo in my chart, you would think with all that Earth, I wouldn't have a pounding heart every time I get through to any spaceships. A gazillion comments on several shows. Like, I spoke about how if you trust that you'll find an answer, you will. There was a mini-series about Merlin with Sam Neill, and I was looking for the segment and even the name of the show and the actors, and I found it through a YouTube series. And there was, towards the end of the film, when everybody turned away from Queen Mab, she was like, "No, don't ignore me," and she just vanished. And then, let's see, last week about Natalie and horses, I can't remember her, but I read this article where the horse hesitated, so the rider fell, and she's like, "Uh-oh, this is the way I'm going to go with my horse." So the horse, she could feel the hoof of the horse, but the horse contorted itself, and the judges said, "We've never seen anything like that," just to keep from killing her. It was just amazing. My plants say hello.
Hello, plants. How you doing?
2 questions. You said that my edema is caused by something below the belly button.
Yes, that's your dreaming body. Your dreaming body is being disconnected from your frequency, your signature frequency of how your soul connects into the physical body, which is creating the edema. It's putting pressure on the heart and the lungs.
Oh. Remedies? No, besides
hyperbaric chambers. That's one of the classic ways to get rid of edema right away. Edema is because the body's not bringing oxygen to all the right places, and it's not able to accurately use all of the different, how do I put it, flow areas of the body so that the fluid can be brought back to the intestinal tract through the kidneys and be expelled out. You're retaining a lot of fluid.
So what about people who have very low budget for the moment? High iron foods or walking or all that?
Well, walking, and then you can go those little micro trampolines that they have, and that is a very, very good way of getting the pumping and body flow. It's the body flow and the pumping that creates the way for the edema to stop settling in the feet. And the next thing is changing your chairs. If you're finding yourself sitting and sitting and sitting, you've got to change your chair and then understand it's your tailbone that causes most of the edema.
Hello? Trying to stop the static. It's an old phone. Okay, here we go. Question number 2. There's been periods of my life where I've followed the family tradition of being cruel. And as I compose the question, I'm fighting back guilt tears. But how do you take away? How do you appease? You know, how do you? I mean, I stopped years ago, but do you make a revocation or an offering or something like that?
Well, when you're dealing with family cruelty, it's something that's being passed down generation to generation to generation. And family cruelty is something that just unfortunately exists because of the type of spiritual contracts that we have. And this is a contract revocation that you have to say with bravado and almost take up a little bit of the family cruelty concept so you can counter its signature frequency while you're doing the actual revocation. So go ahead, just repeat after me. I in this moment.
I in this moment.
Choose to acknowledge.
Choose to acknowledge.
That there is a family cruelty in my lineage.
There is a family cruelty in my lineage.
One that I have used before.
One that I have used before.
That has given me some level of success at reclaiming my power.
That has given me some level of success at reclaiming my power.
But it has caused me to lose power in many other places.
But it has caused me to lose power in many other places.
From this moment forward and backwards in time.
From this moment forward and backwards in time.
I break all contracts, vows, and agreements.
I break all vows, contracts, and agreements.
With all family cruelty programs.
With all family cruelty programs.
I go back to the state of birth.
I go back to the state of birth.
And delete all programs that create cruelty.
And delete all programs that create cruelty.
Or accept cruelty in my life.
Or accept cruelty in my life.
I ban and banish.
I ban and banish.
All entities of cruelty.
All entities of cruelty.
That would abuse my innocent will.
That would abuse my innocent will.
By imprinting cruelty upon me.
By imprinting cruelty upon me.
I, in this ever-present moment.
I, in this ever-present moment.
Choose to acknowledge my ancestral connections.
Choose to acknowledge my ancestral connections.
And I ask them to come here.
And I ask them to come here.
And to audit.
And to audit.
Every moment of cruelty upon me.
Every moment of cruelty upon me.
Or I may have been to others.
Or that I may have been to others.
So I may bring to zero balance.
So that I may bring to zero balance.
All projected contracts on me.
All projected contracts on me.
From this point forward and backwards in time.
From this point forward and backwards in time.
I am a zero karmic balance being.
I am a zero karmic balance being.
On the path to being a healed healer.
On the path to being a healed healer.
And so be it.
And so be it.
There you go.
Okay. Off to the next caller. Thank you.
All right, darling. You have a good day.
Likewise. Thank you. Thank you all.
Yes, yes. So our next caller is going to be 778. Are you there? 778, are you there? Hello, hello. 778, are you there?
Disappeared.
Oh, he's there. All right, so we're going to go on to call 904. Are you there? No. All right, we'll go on to
I'm
416.
here. Hello?
Caller, your name and where you're calling from, caller?
Hello?
I can't hear you, anyone.
Hi, 778. Are you
Hello?
there? Yep, I'm here. Are you there?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
That 778's responding with the hello.
Hello.
This is 704.
Yes, I'm
704
here.
is here.
All right,
904 is here.
We're talking to 778 first. Okay. 778, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi. Your name and where you're calling from?
This is Christy, and I'm calling from New Westminster, British Columbia, Canada.
Hi, how you doing, British Columbia Clan? And your name you said is Chrissy?
Yes. I just
Okay.
read that revocation with, I didn't hear her name, and that was so powerful.
Thank you.
That was so powerful because it resonated so deeply with me. And I feel like I need a bit of a moment.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That's why we do these shows.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, my gracious. I had a question about myself and my daughters. I'm a single mom, and I've called them before, and you gave me some advice on how to take care of my health. And you said that there was a blockage in my spine, and I was wondering how that blockage is, or if it's gone, because I did some work around it. I was just recently at on the mountain by the river, and I do salt baths, cleansing, and I cleared up this space of removing the boxes that you said to clear up and have a ceremony around.
Yep.
I cleared those up, and my daughters and I did a ceremony around that. Next Sunday, I'm going to be having a group meeting here with some ladies for stress management. I've been told and that I'm a healer, and that my youngest daughter, is also a healer, and I believe my second youngest daughter also is. So, that's a lot. I have one small job that I'm doing right now, and it's before and after school care, and I was thinking to go out and work as a nurse again, but I don't agree with the inoculation, so I'm not inclined. It really doesn't resonate with me. So I don't think I want to go and do that.
Okay, so what's the question you wanted to ask?
I wanted to know about how I'm doing with my health, and some direction or some encouragement for a job to provide for myself and my daughters.
All right, so I want to bring Kathy in here real quick and to bring her frequency in first about the job.
Okay.
When I look at your energy, to me it seems like you. What is the word? You're a multitasker. You could apply your skills to quite a few different types of jobs, but I think one of the quandaries you have really is the things that you enjoy a lot don't seem to pay much. So when you're having to be a breadwinner, it's very difficult to always find something that you can really love and that can support you and your family. So I guess it's a common dilemma for many people. I would say if we were to look at the next, let's say next 4 or 5 months, there will be opportunities for you to take on some new type of job and career, but I would say that you would consider them not very interesting. Financially, it would be rewarding, but not necessarily for your soul, if you know what I mean. But when you come up to about let's say we're in November now, probably 6 to 7 months from now, you will come across an opportunity. It kind of knocks on your door, almost by accident, but not really by accident. And that's when things get very interesting for you. You will get an offer that is financially quite rewarding and something that you would find fulfilling and soulful, but it is something that you haven't done before. So it's going to be very interesting for you when this opportunity comes up, because it doesn't really ask you for a leap of faith, but you're a bit, you know what, I really would like that, and the money's pretty good. What if I'm no good though? That's your only quandary, because it's a little bit unfamiliar to you. But I would say, you know what, when that opportunity comes, in your gut, you'll know that's the right thing. Take that chance, because it will be very fulfilling.
Okay.
But in the meantime, it's just going to be a bit tougher in that you have to balance financial versus soulful. Sometimes that's just the way it is. You don't always get both. But it's not a long time to wait.
Well, I recently just turned down a 30% commission job for canvassing for donations.
Mm-hmm.
For a little small company, but it just didn't feel right. I felt that the vibe wasn't good. I couldn't really connect with it, and I didn't trust who they were.
Well, I think, your core reaction to it was probably the right one. Like, to me, it looks like that job didn't really suit you. It wouldn't have been a long-term thing for you anyway.
No.
Not that it was a long-term offer, really, but I guess it wouldn't have the longevity that you would hope for if you went for that type of job. And to me, it looks like whoever offered you this job, their core ethics are not quite the same as yours. And somewhere, it's not an obvious thing, but if you read in the fine print, that probably is what raised your alarm bells a bit, because they've hidden it very well in a backdoor kind of scenario. But then it really is a big influential thing on what people are going to donate their money for, and where they think it's going, and what it might actually be doing. Right. So your instincts are good, so don't doubt them.
Thank you.
Yeah, but
I
many
need
times
to hear that.
Oh, well, your instincts are good. But sometimes you just have to think about, maybe for 3 months I might do something and it's not as soulful, but I'm going to, accumulate some cash, and then I'm going to do something more worthwhile. But if it doesn't gel with you, you should never do it anyway, because for you, you're a very ethical person, and it's always going to be a problem for you. Even if the money is fantastic, it wouldn't last long, because, you're very righteous like that. And it's good to be like that.
Well, I believe in the new thing that I've been saying for myself is an even energy exchange, and I'm willing to help other people empower themselves, not just in the way of cash, but also for like donations, or something that perhaps maybe it costs them cash and they can't pay cash. They would bring something for. Because I've actually just recently done that, like swap and trade, that kind of thing, or barter, or I know of a sliding scale system. So but it matters to me that people are able to be helped and to be helped on their level, and I will meet them there, and to provide a safe and secure environment for them to
to a certain degree, that
certainly
is a very good idea. But at the same time, you have to be mindful that your time is money. That's time that you're not spending with your family, time that you're not earning money, call it charity or goodwill, whatever it is. You still have to limit the amount that you do, purely because there are only so many hours in a day. And your priority for, let's say, the next year or so is more about you, your family, and creating a safe and financially stable environment. So I think what you're doing is great, but at the same time, you need to honor that sometimes even just an hour or two of your time to sit down and do nothing is what you need more than it is to help someone.
Yes. Say, darling, we've got to move on to the next caller, so thank you very much for calling. Okay.
Bye.
All right. Hey, have a really good day. So we want to remind everyone you must mute right away when you come onto the call. So we've had a lot of people that have been coming in and they're talking in the background. Steve is getting a lot of calls. So please, everyone, make sure that if you are calling, your radio is off. You will be able to hear us speak. If your radio is on, you will not be loud onto the call because it interrupts everyone else. If you're calling in from Skype, you must use Freedom Screen. That allows you to get into the Skype contact. So please mute your calls. Otherwise, we'll have to remove you from the conversation. So our next caller is going to be 904. Are you there?
I am.
Hi, your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Amy, and I'm calling from St. Augustine, Florida.
Amy from St. Augustine, Florida. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic and just so full of gratitude to be speaking with both of you, and I'm a big fan. So thank you so much.
So what kind of questions did you want to ask?
More just of a general, am I moving in the correct direction? And how do I get past a seeming blockage that I have to move forward in the way that is best?
All right, so as I'm tuning into your energy, I'm seeing a whole lot of things that are what I'm going to call fly-type distractions. There's like this fly that lands on your eyebrow, you wish it off. There's a fly that lands on your hand that's swishing it off, that your hand is swishing off the other fly. You go to get yourself focused and something else comes up. A fly lands on your toe because you have your foot out of your shoe at that moment. And you are distracted and distracted and distracted. And this is other people's polluted energy.
That sounds correct.
Okay, so you need to go through a state where people cannot dump their psychic trash in your psychic neighborhood anymore, which is your sacred space. So you must right away begin to define what is your sacred space and what are your boundaries energetically into those people that are challenging your boundaries. Is there a child or an ex-husband that's challenging your boundaries?
I have a small child, and I have a current husband. There is no ex.
Okay. Are they challenging your boundaries?
Constantly.
Constantly.
Yeah,
So,
my son is almost 4.
Mm-hmm. And inevitably, it's not that he's doing anything wrong. He's 4.
Yes.
Challenging your boundaries is what they do until they figure out their own boundaries.
That's correct.
So the bigger answer to the question is what's blocking you is it's not that you're being a mother, it's you're being a mother in a state of a very polluted environment that has an outside world that is affecting your little micro world. And for the micro world that you have that puts you onto the spiritual path of being the healed healer, you have to go through those times of separation of family density where you make sure the child is working more on their own personality instead of being still attached to your nipple.
Yes, and for that we have him. There is plenty of time when he's out of the home, but I'm the full-time breadwinner at home.
That's right.
At this point, so lucky and amazing opportunities that I've had that have brought me to a wonderful place, but keep me constantly distracted.
Okay. So I want to bring Kathy in here and talk about the business move that has coming in, because I see a whole lot of business energy that's coming to you if you're able to clear out the psychic pollution.
Amy, what is it that you have in your mind? Like, to me, it's like you've got a plan or a project that you have in your mind, but you almost don't dare say out loud.
A physical move of the home to a place that's distant from where I am now, and just a totally different environment than I've ever been in.
Mm-hmm. But in your mind, is there a particular job or a career, business that's associated with that?
Well, right now I've been in the career that I'm in now is communications. So the way that I would describe it is I foster communications. but who my major clients are would not be. It's highly corporate, and it's not necessarily as fulfilling as I would want it to be.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to get you to say out loud to yourself, you don't have to say it now, is you have a concept in your head. You have an idea, a business opportunity, a career, a thing, let's just call it. And you think it's doable. It's a bit out there. It's a bit hard to achieve. But in your mind, you know it's doable. You know that you can do it. You've got the connections for it. You've got the drive. You just can't believe that no one else is doing it or has done it. And it's, in a way, seems too simple. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. Don't get me wrong. When I say it seems too simple, like it's too logical to you, you don't understand how this opportunity would be available to you. The reason I'm asking you to say it out loud is I need you to start to think about your concept is good, your idea is good. The more you say it out loud to yourself, the more real it will become to you. While it stays in your head and remains unuttered, it's still one of those, ooh, I wonder if I could do that, those kind of concepts. You need to actually say the words, whether you start just writing them down for yourself or you go into your room or your bathroom in a quiet, moment and stand in front of the mirror and say it to yourself. The more you say it, the more you can see it's going to be not that hard to actualize. And anyway, the point is, I guess, you need to have more confidence about your concepts because I think they are going to work. I think you can actualize them. I think that over the next sort of 12 to 18 months.
All right, guys, hang on.
Okay.
We are on our break. We'll be back. So everyone hang on tight, and we'll get back to everyone at the other side of the break. Hold on. And welcome back, everyone, to our second hour. Kathy was talking with a caller. Kathy, why don't you finish your conversation there?
Okay, Amy, are you still there?
I am, thanks.
Okay. I think I was at the part where I was saying, I think over the next 12 to 18 months, you will find that whatever it is you have planned will become an eventuality. You just need to be more focused. You need to be more honest with yourself that it is a good concept and believe in yourself. I think that there will be a move involved. You did talk about wanting a move, but I think the move that's involved is not where you think. So it's somewhere similar, but not the same.
Okay, thank you.
And that will come as a surprise to you at the time, but embrace it. Because it's not really what you were aiming for, but it is an excellent solution to everything.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Namaste.
Thank
You're
you
welcome.
very much. So we're going to move on to the next caller. Our next caller is going to be 708. Okay. 778. Sorry. No?
I think it's 704.
704. There we go. 704, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Your name and where you're calling from?
This is Dave from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hi, Dave from Charlotte, North Carolina. What kind of questions you want to start with? Whoever's got their radio on in the background's got to turn it off also. All right, there we go. It's taken care of. So go ahead. Your name, your question?
I had a reading with you at the end of last month. I was a traveling bus boy, and
I remember.
You and you told me about a sweat lodge, and I participated in one yesterday.
Ooh, tell us.
That happened during the time that the sun released the filament. And my intentions going into that were related a lot to the conversations you had with Chris Hales and Lance White on the parity, remedy, disunity, reality. Mm-hmm. And is that energy part of, the Lemurians and that part of what's playing out in Paris and these other things now?
No.
Okay.
What you're talking about in that particular show, which I did in 2013, was talking specifically about a reality that's overlaying this current reality and trying to get people from one timeline to another. So the Paris scenario is activating of the most serious war programs because America can no longer start the war, complete the war, and fund the war. Its factions aren't allowing the war state to continue. So the plan B was to have France activate the war program and attempt to be the new position of America, which is going to try to rally more people to create a confederation of people to go against the terrorists. It's a whole new level of imprinting instead of alternate timelining. In the scenario with Chris, that was specifically to get people off of the graduation timeline.
Okay. And it seemed bear medicine came through, and that we have to stand, strong against this. And are we, what was the result of that sun flare and that during that with the intentions that were put forth? How did that play out in consciousness?
Well, there's this concept that when one person makes a statement in a free-willed expression with the connection to the ancestors, that the all of nature hears it. But then there's a part of nature that doesn't want to hear everyone else's point of view. So when that filament went off, all of nature, not just the earth, but all things interacting with earth, heard that expression of that filament energy saying, it's time for change. Those that were in states of altered perception and were able to hear that message took it at a much bigger scale. So it is an omen for you who was in the sweat at that time, for you to continue doing more and more of those types of expressions, to look for, you know that solar flares are going to come. You can go and check online. You can even predict when they're coming, so that you begin to do more and more of your personal ceremonies and rituals aligned with those, because that is going to once again tune you into the galactic system of communication, where at the bigger scale you can understand what's going on with our world. That may not necessarily translate into stuff that you can repeat to other people, but it gives you a sense of knowingness. And as that sense of knowingness grows and grows, you'll learn how to translate what it is that you feel in these filament eruptions from the sun, how they affected your physical mind, your spiritual body, and your understanding of the way the world works.
Great. What a great explanation. Thank you.
So the bear medicine represents the dreamer, the cyclical dreamer. And I think you, in the bear medicine, sitting in that sweat lodge during the time of a filament, was your cyclical awakening of your dreaming body. You connecting to it at a much bigger level, saying, I want to know more. And that signals the time for spiritual athleticism. Okay? For the physical body needs athletic work, the spiritual body needs athletic work also. And the sweat lodge was your 2K triathlon. All right? You successfully did it. Now it's time to go into training to do more, so you can do multiple triathlons and biathlons spiritually.
Excellent. That feels so right.
Yeah. Kathy, do you want to come in here and say something?
I'd say that you're really definitely in an awakening stage. I mean, not even awakening, you're awake and exploring, testing your wingspan. It's a very exciting time to be in. And I agree with Andrew that you're, going to be moving forward in leaps and bounds. It's a question of which direction you want to go, and not be distracted by too much. Sometimes when you've got it's like putting sparkly toys in front of a child. It's like, ooh, 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 ooh. They're all possible, but they all look so sparkly. I don't know. But just trust in that whatever choices that you make, they'll be the right ones for you at that time. You've got a lot of great stuff coming up, and it's a very exciting time to be in. I'd say the only thing that I would ask you to look after yourself with, or remind yourself, is that, in terms of your own physical body, you need to really pay more attention to your nutrition, because when your physical body is super healthy, everything else is much easier. When you you're a bit more run down or you're prone to, colds or flus, etc., it's just harder for you to expend energy in the more spiritual realms of things. So don't forget to look after your physical body as well.
Okay, I'll do that.
So what else did you experience in the sweat lodge?
It was a South African ceremony where we first invited in the ancestors, then cleared out what wasn't working for us in the second round, third round, called in what we to fill that space from what didn't need anymore. Then the fourth was an offering to the earth in relation to that, and it happened on a lot of different levels and layers, from personal to local realities to family, genetics, DNA to the global galactic scenario, and just very purifying on a physical level. Just the amount of sweat and that came out. I have a very efficient cooling system to begin with, but just really just took it over the top, and I'm still in that kind of state today, and I'm looking forward to the next one now.
Very, very cool. So what was your other question you wanted to ask?
We talked about my older son's path, and he said he had a difficult life in that. He was the one doing an internship in South Africa, by coincidence. But he was working with the Black Sash Society, and even had an experience where he got chased from a service project by a hailstorm. So I'm not sure if he's transitioning to which side or how his stream is evolving.
Well, when hailstorms like that come, it's an ancestral link. So he's going to have to start doing some form of spiritual acknowledgement of the ancestors to assist his integration into the system over there. And something that you can begin to encourage him to do.
Okay. We have the connection now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All
right.
Really enjoyed the show.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling. Thanks for sharing your story on the Sweat Lodge. We're going to move to our next caller. Santo, are you there? Santo, are you there? You have to unmute. Santo Cavallaro.
We know you're there.
We know you're there. You just have to unmute as you're listening probably to the delayed call.
Oh, modern technology.
Exactly. Modern technology, the way it is. Santo, are you there? All right, he'll be back. He'll be back in a second. So, Kathy, we've had some amazing callers for these shows that we've done.
I know, really, and such a wide range of interesting topics. I mean, you mentioned hailstorms being part of a contract, a personal contract. What does that mean?
An ancestral projection of a person's energy. Like especially hailstorms are representative of a very low pressure energy that's creating moisture that's got to rise very rapidly and turn to ice in the cold temperature, and then when it comes back down as hail, programmed water or ice, something that's very, very dense energy. And when people are in an area of a hailstorm, that means dense energy is being dealt with by the actual hailstorms coming down. And it's oftentimes the ancestral energies that bring in this intense hailstorm that drive people off.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yeah. Our weather is directly interconnected with us at all expressions. Our weather is the uncollective consciousness.
Wow.
Very, very dense energy. So we have got a caller that's got his radio on. 903, please turn off your radio. 903, are you there? 903, we're going to have to hang up on you because we're just hearing our voice going back and forth. All right, so 416, are you there? 416, are you there? Hello, 416.
Yeah. It's just one of those days.
Just one of those days, exactly.
Internet hasn't had enough coffee yet.
All right. Santo, are you there?
Hello?
Santo, are you there? Nope, he's not there either. So 907, are you there? Wow.
Who's there?
I hear a hiss.
Okay, everything's going nuts. That hiss, I believe, is coming from Santo. Santo, please turn on your mic and whatever is going on.
416, are you there?
I am here.
416.
Yay!
welcome
Somebody
to the
wants to
show.
talk to us.
Thank you. Oh, great. I've been trying for weeks.
Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm calling from Toronto. My name is Jennifer Edwards.
Hi, Jennifer. Welcome to the show. What kind of
Thank
questions
you.
do you want to ask today?
Well, I had a really bizarre thing happen to a girlfriend of mine about 2 weeks ago. She went to England to a funeral and came back. About a week later, she had a dream and woke up knowing she went to England. And since then, she's been talking with this heavy British accent and can't get rid of it. And her 4 young children are freaking out. She doesn't know what to do. That's just one thing. But for myself now, I dream a lot that I'm flying, and I just wanted to know how that relates to my ancestry or my those
Okay,
two
so
questions are really main for
Let's
me.
deal with your friend first that has come back with a heavy European, heavy British accent.
Yes.
Now, had she been to Europe before that?
I believe maybe once before that when she was younger.
Okay. That's almost always some form of ancestral energies when they go back for some form of funeral, that something that's been pent up in them, that's a spiritual contract that comes out. It could also mean that there's a scenario where some form of limited walk-in has come in, where it's
That's what I was saying to her.
another version of their soul shard that was trying to get into a human body. And basically, there would have been 2 of that person at one point, but instead of going to the body, it was force integrated during that funeral, which is the why so much of the British accent could come through. As for the children being freaked out, I think the most important thing that you can do is to encourage this lady to go out and have a past life regression with someone that's quite skilled at dealing with this. I actually encounter people speaking a foreign language all the time, where they go someplace and they come back, and it's almost always from integrating some form of soul shard that was in some form of karmic retribution or in some form of locked scenario until some form of mourning happened, and thus the equation emanation is now back. You can call Tanach at the office at 360-894-0692, and he can hook her up with Debbie, who's one of the amazing past life reader. He's been on the show many times and is very skilled with dealing with family issues where something like this comes up, and it can be quite scary.
It is very scary at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
thank you so
secondly
much.
there is always the potential that it's a ghost. Now, European ghosts have a very tough time of existing in the Americas. Canada's a little different because it's still following the Queen and the Crown. So
Right.
transcontinental ghosts do happen. And if that is going on, what you can actually do, believe it or not, might sound really odd, is you're going to go and get some form of higher quality bourbon or some kind of higher, spirit or alcohol, and put it in a spray bottle, like you would spray misty spray plants, and then go around to where your doors are, any entrances, and put a mist of this alcoholic spray there, as well as misting the person with the alcoholic spray just after they've had their morning breakfast. So they're in frequency, in fluid, and you can spray behind the back of their neck. Yes, it may have a little scent, but it's alcohol. It fades very, very fast.
Wow, thank you so much.
And then the second part.
How often should she do that?
A while.
One-time thing?
A while. Yeah, a while.
Okay.
And then contract revocations if she hasn't already started doing those. And then the past life regression, because that'll clear it up right away.
Okay.
And then the second question you said you have lots of flying dreams?
Yes, like since I was young, I'm always flying in my dreams.
Like, what are you doing when you're flying?
If I want to get away from somebody, or if somebody's chasing me, or if I'm just on a rooftop and I want to reach another area, I just spread my arms and I'm just flying over there. Sometimes I'm in a room and I end up flying because someone's trying to hurt me. And actually, just recently, I had a dream that someone threw a dagger at me. So I started flying, and then everybody in the room started throwing daggers at me. And I flew out of the room, and when I went out on the street, people were throwing daggers at me there. So I actually flew over buildings into a different area and then woke up.
Well, it sounds like you're a lot of your flying dreams are about some form of mission that you're on, and you keep getting caught or keep getting detected. And the daggers that are being thrown at you are remote projections that are trying to get you back in your body, so you can't observe the dream anymore. Yeah. So you have to kind of realize you're in more of a form of astral projection than you are in dreaming at that state. So something's going on with your dreaming body that's allowing you to be aware and giving you some form of reality control, because the flying does what? Stops the daggers from hurting you.
Right.
So you may want to, before you start going to bed, and start some form of out loud saying that says, I have full control over my dreams. The flying of my dreams has taught me how to dodge the daggers that are being thrown at me. I now want to create a spiritual shield, an avatar shield of myself that brings all other versions of unity self forward, so I may begin to observe the construct of the dream and remove the daggers from even being a projection at me, so I may go to the source of the concept and mission, so I may understand it fully, instead of these pieces, parts of me putting together a story of dreams flying.
Thank you. Is there anything you can tell me about my past lineage?
Sure. Your past lineage is very much Arcturian. You very much follow the Blu-ray corridor of spiritual experience. So mathematics and music will come very, very easy to you. Using intoning and sound during healing will be very, very natural for you, as well as using color as a state of healing. Color therapy, art therapy, it will be one of those extremely beneficial things for you to do.
Wow. Anything else?
Well,
seriously wows me. I'm a serious singer.
What kind of singing?
Jazz.
Jazz. Well, you'd be surprised how many Arcturians are jazz singers.
Oh God, it's so nice to hear, because I just recently I was working with a reggae artist, very big reggae artist named Jimmy Cliff. And,
okay, hold on a second, darling. We are at our break, and we're going to come right back to you. So everyone, hold on.
Thank you. Actually, it's Jennifer.
Jennifer, I'm sorry. So you were telling us about your life.
Well, I'm just about to embark on a new music project, and I was just wondering if you had any advice in going forward with it. Any tips?
And this is with a prominent jazz singer?
I'm a singer, and I was with a prominent singer, and I'm doing my own project now, basically breaking away from singing as a supporting background vocalist.
Okay.
So I'm just about to embark on a new project where I'm going to release my own EP, and I just wanted to know if you had any advice in terms of going forward with it.
Are you writing your own lyrics?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been working on the lyrics for?
Oh, the lyrics now, I've been working on it for about 3 years, actually. It's the songs have been put together. It's just a matter of mastering them and then releasing it and promoting it.
Well,
That's
I see a whole lot of energy that's accumulating around the lyrics. Not necessarily the lyrics that are going to be necessarily life-changing. It's the composition of the lyrics with your voice, with the music, that drive forward this new thing that you're creating. And I see only a handful of hurdles that you may have to overcome there, and that is dealing with your own energy of the last 3 years of creation, where the creation process is ending and you're giving birth to it. Something you've seen many other composers and music people go through. You're going through that graduation from what you were doing before into this much higher level, where you're going to be running your own musical business. And in that musical business, new material is going to be necessary, but it's the old material that will ultimately be giving you money, 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 money.
Exactly.
Okay. So I want to bring Kathy in here for a second to talk about how the money is going to flow with this project.
Thank you. I was going to ask if Kathy could give her intuition too. Okay.
Jennifer, have you already recorded the songs?
I have. And I have also recorded previously, but this is my first official release.
Well, I look at the music that has been created, and to be honest, I think that they need a little bit of tweaking.
Okay.
I think I agree with Andrew. I like the lyrics, and the core essence you have in them is great, but I'm not a big music person, so I don't really know how to describe this, but to me it looks like I guess I could only say it's the tempo or the way the lyrics come out. You just need to change it a little bit. Like some of it seems to me like it needs to be longer, like more soulful, like you've hurried a little bit over some parts of it and people haven't had a chance to embrace that energy of the words that you've said. I don't know if that makes sense to you. That's the only way I can describe it. But I think if you just tweak that... Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, at times I do tend to speak fast and cram too many words into one phrase. So that is a part of my editing. The major part of my editing is trying to make the song or make the sentence flow better.
Yeah,
So
for me, I think if you can think of in your mind, think of like haunting. Your words need to be haunting, so you need to have them longer, more pause, so that they have time to sink into people's brain and their subconscious. If you can just do that, I think that'd be perfect. So just a little bit of tweaking, that's all. But let's assume that we've already done the tweaking. I would say from when you have it all finished and you're ready and you're happy with that end product, the marketing of it will take you a little bit longer than you expect. Not because your marketing technique is no good. It's just the timing is a bit off for your type of music. So let's say you had decided it'll take you 3 months to market it. I'm just grabbing this figure out of my head. I would say it probably take you like 5 to 6 months. So don't be disheartened if you have a little bit of a lag in the time span you've given yourself. It's all a question of timing, the right people hearing it at the right moment when they have that time rather than rush through, it's stuff like that. But to me, I think that you can do a lot of the marketing yourself. So you can do it on the fly, on the cheap. Just keep your essence in it. To me, it looks like you're going to have some advisors that are going to tell you, you know what, you shouldn't write this PR release like this. You should do it like this. Trust me, I know I've done lots of these type of things. You should listen to me. I would say they mean well, but they don't necessarily know your target audience as well as you do. So I would say listen to what they have to say, pick up some key phrases of their marketing jargon and incorporate that into what you've already prepared. Don't change it the way they want to change it. Just incorporate a few of the spiel, because that like marketing people, they have the gift of the gab. They know how to say something like really on spot. But
Kathy,
it doesn't.
Kathy, I just want to add something there. I recently got a major offer, and they wanted me to do gospel, and I am not a Christian. I mean, I do acknowledge Jesus, but I really and truly believe that it's more of a universal thing, that everybody has a way to reach their spiritual consciousness, and I just didn't want to target on any specific spiritual group. So I turned down the offer, and people laughed at me because I knew I would be a huge artist. And I turned it down, and since then I've got a lot of fight from them, but I feel so good knowing that I turned it down.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I know it's not me.
Yeah, and they don't know your music as well as you do, and you know your target audience. Yeah, it's tough, especially when the experts are telling you something. You feel a bit, intimidated, and then in your dark moments at night, you think, "Ooh."
Yes.
But just be strong, because your sense is very good. But anyway, to continue with the marketing, I think that when you market it the way that you want to, and it just will take you a little bit longer, you will have success. And I see you have a lot of success with something that has to do with radio. So maybe a radio station picks it up. I'm not sure how that works exactly, but I do see it being very, very popular. So financially, you will gain from this. So in the end, you'll be so pleased that you stuck to your guns. Yeah. And it will happen in less than 2 years,
Wow.
So don't be deterred. Keep on going. Think haunting.
I'm so glad that you came on the phone, because I was going to ask a question to you about my mother. My mother is now in her 80s, just reaching 80, and she's very, very negative. She has 5 beautiful children, all of my siblings, and she pushes us away with her negativity. And sometimes I wonder if there's negative energies around her, and if there's any way I could help with that.
Some people are just born grumpy. There's really not much you can do about it. And it's sad to watch, because their life could be so much more rewarding. It's a choice. It's a choice they make. Every day they wake up, they choose to be grumpy and grouchy. And there's not really much you can do about it. All you can do as a child is just, yeah, Mom, I love you. And just the rest is blah, blah, blah. That she's got her own program that she's following, and, the odds of her changing at this age are really virtually nil.
All right, Kathy, thank you so much.
So I got a question. I got a question for you. How did you find out about this show?
I was very. It's very interesting you asked that, but I basically bumped into it on the internet. I think it was Mount Shasta, the Mount Shasta series. I bumped into that on the internet, and after watching the first one, I was just hooked. I've seen everything. I'm one of your number one fans.
Well, thank you very much. So I got a little something else for you along the Arcturian energy corridor aspect. When is the next time you're going to be on stage, even if it's just a practice that has lights?
I'm planning to do a video in a nightclub, and lighting is one of the key things that is going to cost me. It's one of the key things that I require right now is proper lighting. So
yes, it's very important that you get lighting, and I want you to look into some blue gels. These will go over the Gojo lights and all those lights. Yeah. So there's a very bright light that can be put onto you that can, let's say, charge your body, and a blue light that can be put on you that gives you the haunting physical expression that Kathy was talking about, that will go to a very long way at making your words seep deeper and deeper into those that are listening.
Okay, thank you so much.
Blue gels, you can get those for any of those lights that have the square canister over them, so you can color the light.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I did lighting at university as a part-time job.
So then you know. So what you may also
compatible.
want to do is to find some of those lights for your own home, put them high up on the ceiling, and put your chair underneath it so you can start bathing in blue light while you're doing some warm-ups. Really important that you get that blue frequency just saturated through your body.
Okay. I just recently was saying that I should go in the sun more. I feel like I want to be in the sun. I'm spending a lot of time indoors during the day.
Yeah, you could do the sun thing too, but having these blue lights is going to go a really long way at connecting you to a lot more of your ancestral Arcturian energies.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Hi,
Much
darling.
love
You
to the
take it
two of
easy.
you.
This has been a special call. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Wow, very, very cool to see the professionals that are calling in. All right, so we're going to move on to Santo. Are you there this time?
Can you hear me this time?
Yes, we can hear you, Santo. How you doing?
I tell you what, for a person who works with computers, I'm not doing too well.
Well, you're on. You made it.
Sorry about the hiss. I've got a fan that's a little bit renegade and it's just misbehaving. So
It's
I
okay.
hope the hiss is there.
It was a day of callers misbehaving. It's okay.
Okay. Well, hi there, and hi, Kathy, and thanks for taking the call. I had a reading from you, Andrew, a year or so ago.
I remember.
Okay, and it was great, and I really appreciated it, and I learnt a lot from that reading. My question is, we moved out of the city grid about 5 years ago into the country here, myself and my partner Jackie, and it's a beautiful area. I was just wondering what you see in terms of the land around us here, the energy, and our health, myself and Jackie, our health.
Okay. So where did you move to?
We moved to a place ironically called Perseverance. So we persevere in Perseverance in the country. It's in southeast Queensland, up in the hills, beautiful country from the way we feel it. It's about 800 metres above sea level, and we've got a nice creek running through the place. A nice area.
So just let me tune in a second here. So the ancestral energies of this place are extremely, extremely powerful. About 200 and 250 years ago, there was a massive immigration of a type of butterfly that was there, and it used that area as its homing frequency. Do you see lots of butterflies there?
We see not a huge amount. At the moment, we've got a lot of moths.
Moths, butterflies. Okay, yes. Anyway, so there's a huge ancestral homing beacon there for insectoid-type creatures to come and put their seeds. And some of these seeds don't hatch until several years or 70, 80 years later. So this land is going to be giving birth to all sorts of insectoid kind. And it's very, very important that you begin to acknowledge it by giving it specific boundaries of where it can go and work and feed so it doesn't begin to interfere with your life and cause an infestation.
Right.
Okay, so this infestation would actually affect your health level. Not necessarily completely negative, but it would very much cause a disturbance in the type of energy that you and your companion are looking for, which is a balanced ancestral energy that's not dumping negative karma on you. Insectoid species have this way of, let's just say, bringing up our negative debt that we don't acknowledge, even if in our unawareness we're not acknowledging it. It's just the very nature of the universal type of being that they are. So having all this insectoid energy saying that there is something on the subsurface that you haven't dealt with when dealing with your specific, more ancestral karma coming from your specific lineages. So an infestation would mean constant forms of distraction, constant energy in your field preventing you from seeing your truth source and authentic frequency. So it would be very, very good for you to start doing ancestral soups for your land, specifically for the hatching of the individual insectoid kind, that they have their specific boundaries. They know where to go to feed right away. They know that you're not there to murder them in mass, and you are also not there to take on the karma that they may be creating as an insectoid species. You as an individual human can say, I shall not take on the debt of the rest of my species. And it's very important that you use these lines to the insectoid kind, because they operate from a much more intense, heartfelt, centered frequency that can have coping skills to deal with very negative karma immediately. Whereas the human beings at these individual levels may not necessarily have all the coping skills to deal with the species-wide karmic resolution.
Right. We make a lot of effort to try to clear, do the smudging, fire, and we try to make the place. We've come up with this idea of the piazza, the local community area, invite people around and try to have some level of energy that can be shared. And we're very mindful of what you're saying in terms of trying to keep the place clear. Mm-hmm. In relation to, I just wanted to ask you, health, myself and Jackie, do you see anything that requires attention personally?
Yes, I do. In Jackie, there is a tremendous buildup of energy in her sciatic nerves. Has she been limping at all or overworking herself?
Well, Jackie had a stroke, a fairly major stroke, about 7 or 8 years ago, and has fully recovered. But she sits at a desk all day with her work, working from home here. She works remotely, but has done a remarkable job in terms of recovery from the stroke. So I don't know whether it's the lingering effect.
The stroke would have some minor parts to it, but it's more of the position that she's sitting on her table than her chair, and the position that she's working in that's causing her sciatic nerves to have major synapse misfire, which is going to start what I call nerve fire, where there's going to be lots of very dull pain that she can't identify where it's coming from, and that's literally her sciatic nerve not able to process the fluid from the cranial sac to the tailbone sac, because all of that cranial sacral fluids intertwined, and when the sciatic nerve gets swelled, it's very difficult for it to exchange fluids, which is going to cause lots of lower back problems, lots of hip problems, and then limping. If there's any kind of limping, right away.
She has a lot of hip problems. Sorry, Andrew. A lot of hip problems.
And those hip problems mean she has to, first thing first, change her chair. That's the most important thing when you're dealing with people that are working and getting sciatic nerve chair. You can go and buy these ergonomic yoga chairs that have no physical back on them, so you have to actually sit straight in them the whole time. And the next thing is
Andrew, I bought one of those chairs, and she finds it hard to sit in it for long periods.
Right, because her body's still used to the other way.
Right.
Okay. Right. So she's got to have to force through that. The next thing is yoga, Tai Chi, where she actually has got to do it. If she's not going to do that, somebody's got to get in there with the big elbow and start massaging the tailbone, the buttocks, and the glutes at a really serious level, because the sciatic fluid, for it to go from point A to point B and to be recycled, means that the tailbone, glute, and buttocks actually have all of their ventries open so that the fluid can be exchanged. So
It's
heavy duty tissue
you say
massage.
that.
Yeah.
Funny you say that, Andrew, because I actually practice acupuncture. I don't do it as a commercial thing, but I've learned the acupuncture in the Chinese massage, and she's always up for a thigh massage, buttock and thigh, yes.
Yep, because that's where all of her pressure is. So I want to bring Kathy in here now for her perspective too.
I would totally agree with you. I mean, for me, it was the lower body, the base of the spine, and I'd almost say also the uterus area. There's so much congestion there. And I do agree with Andrew that all this needs to be dealt with, because the longer you leave things like this, the more problems it will produce later. I also don't think that it's that related to her previous stroke. I think it's more of a current situation. Certainly posture is one contributor. The lymphatic system isn't getting around enough, which is another contributing factor. But I think that the uterus also needs to be addressed in some way, whether it's the ovary section or the actual uterus. I couldn't be sure, because I just see it more on an energetic level. But it seems like there are blockages. So if you are doing massage for her, I would suggest also doing it around the pelvic region, but not very strong massage like you would do for the thighs and the back. More of a lighter type of sweeping motion, just to see if you can get some of everything moving, let's call it. On an energy level, let's call it, it's like sweeping with a broom, and you're just getting things going and moving around. So there is more circulation, so that whatever is building up around there has more chance to be eliminated.
Yes.
I think realistically she's not going to... Sorry?
She had problems with the uterus before we met, and is gluten intolerant and has a lot of swelling if the appropriate foods are eaten. So she is gluten-free. And yes, everything you're saying is the key area. It's been that for years and years.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, because it's just so congested around there. But, just see what you can do with the light massaging for a start, because I think she'll find that really does already start to alleviate some of the pain, or that sort of it's like a tension. It's like I can only describe it. It's like something is swelling and your skin is too tight and can't take the swelling. It's not like that, but it's the tension. I mean, it's the build up, and it's uncomfortable. Exactly. So anyway, that will help. If you do that, if she can even just do it for herself every day, in the morning and at night, or whenever she lies and watches telly or whatever it is, she will start to notice a difference in a month. And that will, that relief that she gets from it will encourage her to do more. What I was about to say before is, realistically, I don't think, is it Jackie? I think her name was.
Yes.
Isn't going to change her lifestyle or her day-to-day regime much. Some people, they're well-meaning and they mean to do it, but it's too difficult for them to step out of what their body knows or what they know and make changes. And every time you remind them, they can do it, but then they'll fall back in. It takes too much discipline or change in let's say the next few years. So I would suggest try something easier. Just do one tiny little bit of change, for the first 6 months, and then the second bit of change, because she knows that it needs to happen, but realistically, it's too difficult for her to do. So you have to. It's like a child, You've got to show them something and then take them through it every day, little bit by little bit, and then a year later, when they're a bit older and wiser, then they'll learn it.
Yes.
You
bred my thoughts.
Yeah, work with what you've been given.
Exactly. Thank you, Kathy. Yes.
So there's one more thing before we've got our radio music coming up in a second. Anything that's dealing with a channel in the foot, like a spleen channel that separates into the foot, like the Tyen spleen channel, it would be very good for you to start needling her feet in conjunction with the deep massage in her tailbone and quads, glutes, and stuff. All right, everyone, that's going to be the end of our show. Steve Travesty is going to be coming up next. I am going to be joining Steve, and we're going to be talking Paris Extreme. So thanks a lot, everyone, and we'll catch you next week for another call-in show.
That's on Studio B, everybody, so you have to switch over.
Yep. Studio B, yep.